fantastic turnout of fit, curious people. Recharge Adelaide, an idea that we came up with because we want to see something different. We want to see something better. We want to see a healthy future for not just ourselves, but for our whole community. And so, you know, we thought we'd kind of all pull this all together because clearly we're all interested. So it's, what is it? It's a grassroots metabolic initiative. I like the idea of that because it starts from the bottom. We are not waiting for the government to say, this is how you're all meant to eat. This is how you're all meant to exercise. This is how you're all meant to get sun. We're just going to start, aren't we? Because we're going to follow the science. We want to empower everybody to be asking the questions and to own and honour their story. I don't know how many times I've been told by specialists, you know, oh, somebody's story, oh, they cured their cancer, oh, that's an anecdote. I really honour that person's story. And I suppose for me it was actually, hello, welcome. It was important because I'd had the experience myself. I want everybody to embrace hope. I want everybody, when they see a doctor, when they see anybody, to be hopeful. I want respect and trust to be at the core of healthcare and wellness. I want to acknowledge that we all do health together. As a doctor, I sit there with an individual and I don't know how many times I've thought to myself, I'm actually talking to not just their whole family, but their whole extended family. Because if a mum is low in iron, her whole family's low in iron. It goes across the board. So who are we? Well, Olaf, everybody knows, of 30-minute strength and Grassland Nutrition. And we've got Carol and Inga here from Grassland Nutrition, and Izzy. Sally Toodle, who's a movement therapist with Gyro and also from Grassland Nutrition. Me, I'm a metabolic and lifestyle GP. All of you are incredibly important to this because, as we all know, we are all doing health together. As a community, we do health. I want to acknowledge deep respect and acknowledgement for our traditional custodians of this amazing country that we all live in and call home. And I want to invite into this community the truth and the wisdom of the farmers, the butchers, the gardeners, the wellness services across the board. Everybody's working together and we need to kind of share that wisdom and information. People like architects who can build healthy buildings for us. Designers and businesses across the board, we all need to work on this together. So why do we want to do this? I don't know about you, but I'm a GP of 34 years. When I graduated, type 2 diabetes was a disease of 80-year-olds. Now I'm seeing it in 20 and 30 and 40-year-olds. Actually, I'm starting to see it in teenagers. Chronic diseases are worsening. Every single one is worsening. The statistics are there, they're in front of us, but it's like we're pretending that it's not happening. Nothing is changing, and so we can change it with you. The arbitrary division of the body into different anatomical parts doesn't make any sense because the body works together as a community, just like we work together as a community. And the more I learn about mitochondria, the more I realise mitochondria are at the base, at the very core of the whole processes, metabolic processes within. I want to acknowledge and recognise that we understand our biological systems incredibly well and we know how we've evolved. So why don't we actually key into the wisdom that we've got from that science and use that for health and wellness? Siloed health systems. I mean, you know, I don't know how many of you are going off to see a cardiologist. gastroenterologist, dermatologist, psychiatrist. If we look at it from a metabolic and a biological and a mitochondrial and an energy perspective, we could fix all of it. Well, we could do our best to fix it all from using one approach rather than lots of different approaches. This actually takes opening our minds and opening our hearts, because we have to do health better and brighter and involve hope. Why do I do this? Why is it important to me? Because of this young man. He's now 22, but this is my experience with the health system. I don't just work as a GP, I'm a mother, that's number one. I'm a mother of 4 amazing young men. He's my youngest, and something along the way, I think I was probably responsible, it's not just genetic, for something, and I'm not sure what, and I'm still searching. I don't blame myself, but I'm curious. I want to help him. I want to do better. He was born perfect. He was number 4, and I looked at him and I said to him, "You're just going to have to fit in with this busy family." And he looked back at me and he said, "Yeah, think again, Mum." We've fitted in around him, but I have learnt so much along the way. I've learnt what good healthcare is, and I've learnt that I don't want to be spending my whole time going to different therapies. I don't want to spend my whole time seeing lots of different doctors. Each time I see a doctor, I have to explain to them about his particular condition because it's rare. And they make a judgment. They judge him. He's intellectually disabled. He's incredibly vulnerable. He can't speak for himself. And you can kind of see that they kind of make this quick determination that, what does it matter what happens to him? It actually matters to me. He's worthy of care. He's worthy of respect. He's worthy of a good life. So I spent a lot of time searching, and I probably spent maybe, he's 22 now. I've spent most of that time looking for answers, and it's taken me down a lot of paths, but I'm only interested in the science. I'm not interested in other people's judgments, and I'm not interested in their opinions if it's not science-based. I go looking at the latest research, and there is amazing research out there, particularly for epilepsy. So, the current system at the moment, everybody knows, you go and see a doctor. This is what you get taught in medical school. You go and see a doctor, they match the pattern of what you turn up with. You've got headaches, you're vomiting, you're photophobic, oh, you've got migraines. And then you try and find an investigation that will back that up. Then you write the prescription for the drug. And then you expect compliance. So I don't know how many times neurologists told me I was being non-compliant because I was actually looking for the latest research development. It's all there now, it's on the internet. I can search, I can find what the latest is. But if I went and asked them for it, they judged me to be difficult. But you've got to do what you've got to do as a mother. So, what is epilepsy? It's at least 2 unprovoked seizures. It's the most common neurological condition, besides Alzheimer's. 1 in 250 people have it. That's a lot. 1 in 3 of those never gets full control. There's a lot of people out there that are just stuck at home, having seizure after seizure, and nobody can actually help them. They've lost hope. They've lost any sense of well-being with their life. It's that people with epilepsy have 24 times greater chance of an early death, and most of them will die in their sleep. Parents know this. People with epilepsy know this. It's not general knowledge though. It impacts every aspect of somebody's life. It impacts on their health, obviously, but it also impacts on their education. They're away from school all the time. It impacts on their development, it impacts on their financial aspects, it impacts on their housing, it impacts on their ability to get jobs in the future. Liam will never work. He's got round-the-clock care. He's incredibly happy, and he's an amazing person who's taught me and my husband just so much about what life's actually about. It's about caring. So epilepsy is 2 seizures, and then you go, okay, what's a seizure? And all these questions, of course, you ask the neurologist the first couple of times you see them. It's an abnormal or excessive discharge of electrical activity in the brain. So can I go back over that? Electricity. It's an abnormal discharge of electricity in the brain. What did the neurologist give us? Drugs, after drugs, after drugs, after drugs. And by the time you're finished with the drugs, it's kind of like, well, hold on, if that doesn't work, what else can we try? Oh no, but you've tried all the medications. It's like, well, but what can you tell me about electricity in the body? They couldn't tell me anything. So again, research. And the research is there about the body electric. It's old research. It was research that was done in the 1940s and 1950s. But, acupuncture. How long's acupuncture been around? And how long can the Chinese can tell us all about the electricity within the body? Pretty amazing stuff. So for Liam, it's like, of course I asked the neurologist, what causes a seizure? What triggers a seizure? Well, it can be an injury, it can be an infection, it can be vascular malformations, it can be a degenerative condition. It can also be metabolic. What's metabolic? High calcium, low calcium, high sodium, low sodium. It can be high temperatures, it can be low temperatures. It's like almost anything can trigger a seizure. Lack of sleep, too much alcohol, not enough alcohol when you're addicted to it. Flashing lights. But the more I looked into it, well, solar storms. Evidently, people have done research that certain solar storms can actually trigger epilepsy. It's like, what? Never heard of that. Full moons are associated with a change in mood and a change in psychiatric patients and epilepsy. Wow. So, refractory epilepsy is a multi-system disorder. So it's not just happening in his brain, it's actually happening all through his body. Liam's got an abnormal gait, and I said to the neurologist, what's that about? Oh, we don't really know, it doesn't matter. He's also sleepy all the time, and he sleeps really poorly at night. So it affects his sleep, it affects his eating. He can't tell me about his tummy aches, but I kind of look at him at times and I think to myself, he's having tummy aches. His gut's upset quite a lot. Diarrhea, constipation. So it's not just epilepsy, it's multi-system. And so when I start looking at the research, I need to look at other things because a lot of people aren't researching epilepsy. I don't know why we know so little about it, but people keep focusing on the drugs and they focus on the nuclear genes. And I say nuclear genes because I don't think the genetics tells us everything. As Matthew Phillips says, he's a metabolic neurologist. He says perspective is everything. So when we don't talk about the fact that chronic illnesses are getting worse, we're led to believe that they're not. When we don't talk about maybe the way we're treating things isn't working and maybe we should make some changes, then people are kind of just going to continue down the same path, thinking that they're going to degenerate. But we can actually key in to what the body's trying to tell us. What happens when we cut ourselves? We watch that cut heal. Our body is constantly healing. But unfortunately, what we've been told to do in terms of the health messaging actually is sabotaging our body. Matthew Phillips, I just watched another one of his talks recently, he says, eating 3 meals a day that's fully carbohydrated is abnormal. It's like a tsunami attacking your body 3 times a day. And then we tell everybody, snack as well. He says that is not normal from an evolutionary perspective. We've been evolving over millions of years. Agriculture's only been with us for, 10,000 years. He says our bodies are not meant to put up with that sort of assault. So, clearing the fog so that we can get a better perspective of things. And as everybody here probably knows, we are talking a lot more about light nowadays. So LEDs, not good light for us. We need to find the right path of enlightenment for wellness. So these are the people that I started following, and The Body Electric is an absolutely fascinating book that I can't get enough of it. And anybody that's interested in wellness, you start with The Body Electric, because we cannot heal without an electrical impulse. The electrical impulse is what starts the healing process. So we are all led to think that health is all about food and exercise. It's actually more about energy. And we need to ask the questions, how do I get energized? Professor Douglas Wallace is a mitochondrial researcher, and again, you can actually look him up, you can YouTube him, and it's fascinating. He's been doing this for 40 or 50 years. He talks about the bioenergetic paradigm for health, and he says if we actually looked at things rather than dividing the body into anatomical bits, if we look at it from a bioenergetic perspective, that means charging up the mitochondria in every cell of our body so that they can work well as a community, then we can actually heal. Nick Land has written about mitochondria. Again, amazing stuff. Gerald Pollack talks about water. Water is, we all know about water and we think that we kind of just need to stay hydrated. But in actual fact, the fourth phase of water talks about the fact that inside us, we have ionized water, which is important from, again, our bioelectric perspective and our electromagnetic fields. I'm like, why didn't I learn this in medical school? There's the deuterium depletion, a new way of curing cancer by Gabor Sommelier. And again, it's kind of like, well, what's deuterium? How does that fit into it? Deuterium is the I don't know if you all know about the periodic table. So it's a isotope of hydrogen, but it's the particular isotope that we need inside our mitochondria to help us generate ATP, or our energy. And when we've got low deuterium, then we operate better. It's actually the way our bodies are meant to be operating all the time. Brilliant piece of research. Scott Zimmerman talks about light. He's an optical engineer. He's not a doctor. He says the brain is a light trap. It takes engineers working in the field of health to actually make us see things. The brain is a light trap. Infrared goes in through our skull and enters in through our little, the little convoluted bits that look like cauliflower. It gets all the way down in there, and the mitochondria need it in order to then generate the electron transport chain, generate the energy. So we need to expose our hands to the infrared so that sunrises and sunsets, and do it as much as possible. Jack Kruse pulls it all together in a way that just makes you think, oh my God. I have to listen to him over and over again because I don't get it the first time. But it's brilliant the way he pulls it together. The melanin researchers, again, I don't know if any of you have looked into melanin, but melanin is something that NASA are looking into at the moment. And it's just incredible science. They don't know very much about it yet. They know it's polymer, so they know kind of roughly what it looks like. But it absorbs every type of energy and it holds on to it. and then it shares that energy in the form of ultra low emission photons, light. Melanin grabs the energy from the sun and shares it with our body. So, staying indoors, out of the sun, putting the sunscreen on, is actually preventing our biology from doing what it needs to do. Now, we all need to learn how to do it safely again so that we don't get burnt, but somebody like Max Gilhane on Regenerative Health podcast just describes really well how, first of all, you start getting more infrared on your body. And the more infrared you get, the more accustomed your body gets to sunlight, and then you can expose yourself to the UV. Everybody knows the vitamin D story. We need to get the UVB on our skin so that we can generate vitamin D. Vitamin D is essential. We have a vitamin D receptor on every single cell in our body. Now, why would that happen if we didn't need vitamin D? Matthew Phillips and Martin Picard have just done an amazing paper. Again, I like to stay up to date. So he's a metabolic neurologist. He works in neurodegenerative disorders, but when I read his papers, it's kind of speaking to me about epilepsy as well. I wish the epileptic researchers would be looking at what he's doing because it's crossover. Clearly what's happening with Liam is very similar. So, just a very quick little rundown about mitochondria. Professor Doug Wallace, brilliant researcher, absolutely love his stuff. The first time I really got it about mitochondria and how important they were, I was listening to him in a paper that he was describing about introducing a bioenergetic paradigm for health, where he was saying, imagine you have a cadaver lying on a bed or a slab, and a live body lying on a bed, hopefully not a slab because that wouldn't be very comfortable. He said, what's the difference between the two? Anatomically, they are exactly the same. The difference is ATP production. One of them is actually still producing energy. The cadaver isn't. Live body produces energy. The mitochondria, it's the mitochondria that's the difference. Because most people would say, oh, breathing, heartbeat, it's mitochondria. So it's all about mitochondria, and once you know that, you start asking the question, okay, how do I keep my mitochondria healthy? And again, Douglas Wallace, it's the capacity to change that is what enables healing to occur. The thing is, none of us like to change, do we? It's like, no, I used to love eating muesli. Oh, I could eat that 3 times a day. And I used to like my spaghetti, and I used to like my bread, and I used to like all sorts of things. And I had a particular way of exercising. I used to run. I hated it, but I did it because it was really good. I thought it was doing me good. I used to go to the gym, and I'd just, do my workout, my pump class, and no idea really what I was doing, but I thought I was doing good. I used to do it in the mornings. I used to work out in the mornings. I thought I knew what I was doing. But it was really this whole thing, the capacity to change. So I thought, I need to start making changes. And most of us open the nutritional door first, don't we? I don't know about everybody here, but I went down the keto path. But I needed to for Liam, because I didn't want to try anything out on Liam until I tried it out on myself. And so the keto door was kind of like, once you experience ketosis, the clarity, and then carnivore, the calmness, getting rid of anxiety altogether, it's like, oh my God, okay, there's something in this, I'm going to keep making changes. So he came up with this beautiful, I love this diagram, because it starts with the environmental factors, that's the triggers, and then next to it is mitochondrial DNA variations, ancient adaptive polymorphisms. So, we all started in Africa. That's where people evolved, and then we migrated around the world. And I clearly am not, I didn't evolve here in Australia. You can tell that I didn't, because people who evolved here in Australia, different skin colour, different eye colour, different hair colour. Where I evolved, probably Northern Hemisphere. Probably a Viking, that's what I'd like to think. I'm a Viking warrior. So I have to eat according to what my mitochondria kind of need. They need more meat. People who evolved around the equator, they can probably eat more carbohydrates. I don't know. It's a matter of all of us making changes and seeing what sort of benefits we get along the way. But that's just food. There's so many other things. He talks about energy resources, energy demands, and toxins. And we all are very aware of like the glyphosate, the pesticides, fluoride, all of the different toxins that we've got in our world at the moment. How do we remove them? It's a challenge, isn't it? But then that impacts on the mitochondria and causes damage. Our mitochondria are constantly trying to heal. They go through a process of trying to heal. And so what we need to try and do is keep making the changes to try and enable the healing to occur. That's Matthew Phillips. You can see why I like to watch him. But his latest paper, Neurodegenerative Disorders, Metabolic Icebergs, and Mitohormesis. And I'm just going to briefly run you through it because I was actually going to talk for a really short period of time, wasn't I?
I love it.
Sorry. I'll have to do the talking. So when he talks about, this is Parkinson's disorder, and he talks about it as a multi-systemic disorder. So you know about the motor system symptoms. We all know about, the slowness, the tremor, the rigidity. But he says, what about all the non-motor symptoms like the mood, cognitive disorders, autonomic failure, blood pressure drops, tired, urinary symptoms, sleep problems, fatigue, sarcopenia. So he says Parkinson's disorder, Alzheimer's, other dementias, vascular dementia, ALS, anything that's going on in the brain is probably going on in the rest of your body at the same time. I love this bit where he says there's substantial evidence now that it's not just impaired mitochondrial function, which is something that I talk about. It goes beyond it. Impaired mitochondrial biology. So it's the cellular metabolism inside the mitochondria. It's impaired cell-specific mitotypes. Your neurons have different, it's not just neurons actually, it's neurons in substantia nigra have a different mitotype to different parts of your brain. He said they're all very specific. Impaired mitochondrial behaviours, he said you can watch what they do. They don't just look like these bean or kidney-shaped things. He said they can actually be spindles. They can be circular. They merge. They come apart. He says they talk to each other. It's amazing. And they have these complex processes that they're always going about throughout the body. They're a community. They're an ecosystem. There's more of them than there are gut microbes. Impaired mitochondrial activities, impaired mitochondrial features. So he says this is how we have to look at it, and this is how I look at epilepsy too now. So he says you look at the hallmark neurological symptoms, that's what the doctors focus on. And then the doctors give you a diagnosis. But he says it's actually what's going on below the iceberg that's actually important, because that's what's actually causing it, that's the root cause. Once you start talking root cause, you can then try and do something about healing. So the base, what is it that's triggering it? Modern industrial toxins, dietary lifestyle, cognitive, physical and social behaviours. He says the big one for Parkinson's disease is isolation, poor sleep, as well as mutant genes. Actually, that's not a very good slide. And that's a bit messy, so I'll just skip over those. So again, the triggering things. How can we first of all try and remove the triggers so that then we can then enable the healing to occur? So he says, most things, most chronic diseases, not just Parkinson's disease, is multi-systemic mitochondrial disorder, which requires multi-systemic therapy. And if we consider it the iceberg that I showed you, we can then start to look at ways that we can start to heal. And it's not just nutrition, which is where I started, it's so many other things. And I would have to say, probably sunrises and sunsets, getting the reasonable amount of sunlight, trying to block the blue light when we can, good quality relationships, good quality food, micronutrients like grassland nutrition, putting it all together, OLAF, pushing the limits, bringing on mitohormesis. There are times when we have to stress the mitochondria and then enable them to heal, and that is the way that we actually move forward with wellness. So just pulling it back together, we do this together. We do this together and we build and we move forward. And we ask ourselves, how do we do health better in the future? Without waiting for anybody to tell us how to do it. We're going to start doing it ourselves. And I want it to be as scientific as possible, because the science is actually already there behind us. So thank you. And now I want to pass you over to Philip.
No. You come with me.
Sorry,